Alright guys, I just uploaded that Puppet Master The Legacy video, so check that out if you want a pointless project before the holidays. But I wanted to watch this movie for a while, like on the channel here, and cover it, because I never hear this talked about. It's not really a horror movie. Like if anything, it's maybe like a thriller with some horrific stuff in it. Like not really even that. Like it's just I don't know. It's so hard to explain this movie. If you've seen Dead End, you know what I mean. Like it's there's definitely a lot of horror elements in it. But I'm not even gonna try to say the two directors here, their names, because I know I'll butcher it 100%. And yeah, I've seen this movie before, like a few times. But after watching like 15 minutes of Puppet Master: The Legacy, I'm just in the mood. I need to have my lights off watching these movies. But this has Ray Wise and Lin Shaye in it. I mean, that's pretty much all you need to know to decide to let me check this movie out if you haven't seen it. Ray Wise, I adore in everything that he's ever been in. It's he's always going to be Leland Palmer from Twin Peaks for me. You guys know how much I love David Lynch. So that's like who I'll always like see him as, but he can really just play any role, like ever. Like everything I've seen him in, like Digging Up the Marrow by Adam Green. He's great in that. Like there's so many things he's in, I can't even get into all of them. And then obviously Lin Shaye, who got real popular with the Insidious movies, playing Elise, and she was in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and so many things too with her. I can't even list her credentials and stuff. She's been in everything. Who doesn't know Lin Shaye and Ray Wise? So they are on Christmas Eve, I believe, if I recall correctly, and that rhymed. They're taking a drive, like Ray Wise and Lin Shaye. They're married, their characters, and they have their two kids and like the daughter's boyfriend, and they go and they take like a shortcut to the family's house, and they're going there for the holidays for Christmas. So it's a Christmas movie. That's why I am doing this, and things just start to get weirder and weirder, like as time goes on. So if you haven't seen the movie, check it. Get the hell out of here and go watch it. It's on Tubi. I'm sure it's on some other free streaming service because this movie, one is from 2003, and two, like I can't imagine they're that hardcore on the rights for this movie. Like, not saying it's a bad movie in any way. I love this movie. So let's dive into it and watch Dead End and talk about it. Also, the presence of ads just now reminded me that this is on Tubi and this is Tubi Tuesday. So, for those of you who know, when I do a movie on Tubi, what that means, then get excited. If you don't, then I don't know, it's not going to hit for you at all. Yeah, so the family's in the car on their way to the holidays, and they just decide to take this shortcut that they've never used before. Calling Marilyn Manson Marilyn Bronson. The dad doesn't know like this person's actual name. That's hysterical. Now this movie has a very good atmosphere to it and mood to it. That's like one of the major things that I love about this movie. Is just it all takes place on this one road, and like I said, I've been wanting to talk about this movie for months now. And when me and Pat the cat just did our Midnight Society video on the Monster, the A24 film that I did not see until that day, it gave me strong vibes of this movie because that all takes place on one stretch of road too. And it made me think of this. I said, oh shit, I definitely have to do that this month, because especially that it is a holiday movie, kind of. Like, since they're traveling for Christmas to their family's house. But the mood and atmosphere is just so awesome in this movie. Like it just like sucks you in completely, and you start to feel like you're on that road with them as just things just keep getting weirder and weirder. It is kind of Lynchian in a way, this movie, like, which, and I was thinking too, like when I look at Ray Wise, like, yeah, they're like, I'm sure probably no one knows what I'm talking about, but like there's like when you look at Ray Wise, it's kind of just like you feel safe. Does anyone know what the hell, like with certain actors that you like adore, when you turn on a movie with them and you see them acting and stuff like that, it just like makes you feel better. Like you just feel safe knowing like Ray Wise is there on the screen and Lin Shaye. You know, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Probably not. So let's just keep going. You don't hear the term dick cheese used much, like much anymore nowadays, or like ever. Like that's a very, very rarely heard term, but they have a whole argument about it here in the car. And also, just the entire dynamic between Ray Wise and Lin Shaye here. Laura's Lin Shaye's character. I forget the father's name. They didn't say it yet, but this whole movie is basically just they carry this movie. Not to take anything away from the other actors, like who play the kids and the boyfriend. They all do fine. But man, just seeing every like bicker back and forth between Lin Shaye and Ray Wise, and just everything that they say to each other, and the way that they argue, like passive aggressively, everything that they do together on screen is so good in this movie. Like, what an amazing pairing of actors. Props for a movie having a scene where people are in a car and Lin Shaye says like, "Let's all sing a song," and instead of it being "Row, row, row your boat" or some stupid shit like that from Troll 2, they mention the Beatles and say "Yellow Submarine." Not the best Beatles song, not by a long shot. One of my least favorites, actually. But still, just having a Beatles plug here, awesome. And then they start singing Christmas carols and Jingle Bells. And Ray Wise, too. Just he has a great voice. Like, if you ever seen Ray Wise in certain roles where he sings, like he did in Twin Peaks, too, he has a fucking good voice on him. Like, he really does. Like, so just hearing him, like, have a little solo there and, like, Jingle Bells, it's festive, it's fun, and it's so good to hear him singing awesome, like always. The whole little bullshit back and forth between Richard, the dickhead son, and the daughter's boyfriend, Brad. I think it's Brad, right? Pretty sure it's Brad. And it's hysterical, the way that they keep fucking with each other. And then this is where the story starts really taking off here, is that Ray Wise stops. I'm just going to keep calling him Ray Wise, because he's just Ray Wise to me. Like, there's no character for him, like, unless it's Twin Peaks. Besides that, it's Ray Wise, until they mention his name, which they have not. Or I missed it. But he stops the car because he sees this woman in a white dress in the woods, like holding something. And they end up having, it's not even a jump scare really, because you see her coming around the car, and she knocks on the window, and then they start saying, like, try to use your cell phones, call for help, and there's no signal on this road. And then there was a cabin that they passed a little bit ago, so they're going to try to see if there's a phone there, and they think she's probably been in an accident. And this is what kicks off just a series of weirder and weirder events here with this woman in white, which I still haven't come to a conclusion on the ending of this movie, what it means. So, like, people who have seen it know what I'm talking about. I'll talk about it near the end. But still don't know. Like, I still haven't made up my mind exactly what was supposed to be implied to happen here, like in this movie. And the woman has a baby with her, the woman in white. So she's just carrying her baby around. And now they have her in the car trying to find out. Alright, so I bring this up mentally every time I've seen this movie. The son, Richard, they stop at this cabin that they passed, and, they were hoping that maybe there's a phone there they can call for help for this lady in white and her baby. Richard, the son, goes off into the woods. He has, like, a Playboy magazine with him, or some thing similar to fucking Playboy, like Hustler or something. And he just takes, like, the pin up and sticks it on a tree with his gum. And then he flicks his lighter and puts it right near the picture so he can see it, and proceeds to start jerking off in the middle of the woods during a family travel for Christmas. Like, it's so weird. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in a movie before. Like, this kid, think about how much work that takes. One, you gotta be all nervous and shit, like, oh no, what if there's just no phone and they're out instantly? Then what am I gonna say I was doing? You have to worry about all that shit, which is hard enough to do what he's trying to do, like, on its own, thinking about that. Then you have the whole thing with this strange woman and her baby who just appeared out of nowhere in the woods. But I'm sure this kid doesn't give a shit about any of that. But then he's got to hold the lighter up the whole time. Like, to see the picture. It's so strange, man. Like, I really don't know what that scene is about. Like, at all. Like, just to separate him, like, from the family, I get it. But, like, what a way to do it. Like, I've never seen a scene like this in another movie. All right, and for some reason, they could have fit four people in the back of this car, first of all. So the whole reason that the daughter has to walk and meet them at this like cabin thing that they passed that they're looking for a phone at is ridiculous, because there's no reason that the lady couldn't have just smushed in a little bit. Like, there's no way that they could not fit the four of them in there, first of all. And then Richard's jerking off by the tree. And they go in there, and they're looking for a phone. They find one. It doesn't work. And then it's only the lady in white with her baby and Todd, the boyfriend. Or Brad, the boyfriend. Pretty sure it's Brad. I don't know why Todd just jumped into my head. Whatever. I'm pretty sure it's Brad. But she ends up saying that her baby's name is Amy. And that she's very cold. And he says it's cold in here in the car. And he takes the baby from her. She says, "Can you hold her?" And she says, "Don't worry, she's dead," when he questions, like, how can she breathe with all the blanket all over her face. And he says, like, "good one," like it's a joke. I don't know anyone who would joke about something like that, especially to a stranger. Like, maybe, like, I mean, it's just a joke I would make, but, like, to people who know me and shit, not like just some person you just met, and she's creepy as shit, and she was just inside the woods carrying her baby around with no car in sight. We have no idea what this woman is capable of or anything like that. He took that as a joke? I guess so. We'll write it off as that. And then he just pulls the blankets away, and it's just like, you can't even really tell. It's just like blood and, like, just, it's not a live baby. Let's just put it that way. The baby is not alive. And also we have the daughter who was walking because, like I said, they couldn't fit all four of them in the back seat for some reason. So she's walking and she's like practicing her breakup with Brad because apparently she doesn't want to be with him anymore. So she's like speaking out loud and trying to get all her thoughts ready. And then we see after the lady in white disappears with Brad, they're both gone from the car, and hysterically, Brad was screaming, and Richard, the son, who was jerking off to the picture, holding the lighter still, ends up hearing the scream, and he, like, pulls his pants up, and he starts, like, to walk away, but then he stops, and, like, it's so implied that he just came in his pants. Like, he stops and, like, just moans a few times. It's so strange, man. Like, I've seen this movie, like, a decent amount of times, 5 times maybe. I don't remember a lot from it every time I watch it, which is not knocking the film in any way. It's actually a testament to it, because it's so eerie and it's so, like, weird, and I guess Lynchian is a good word for it. Like, it's just, it feels like a dream the whole time, that, like, you don't remember certain details like that. But then we have the daughter, while she's walking to meet them, we see this black car that drives by with Brad inside of it, and this is the thing that we see with multiple characters as they're picked off one by one here as we go forward. Frank, that's way, I always want to say Way Rise. That's so stupid. Ray Wise, his character's name is Frank. And they end up with the phone, and Lin Shaye, Laura, I'm just going to keep using their real names. Like, it's so hard not to with these two actors because they're just amazing. But Laura uses the phone, and she hears basically the woman in white screaming, saying, "I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs," and, like, my baby, she's bleeding, and she tosses the phone away. So there's, like, a lot of time distortion and stuff that goes on in this movie, which is one thing of many things that makes it, like, really interesting to watch. I've plugged this one a few times, but the J.G. Wentworth 877 Cash Now, if you need it, it's out there. What I need is a gun, because I can't take hearing this fucking song any longer. Like, not one more time. That's why it's muted. Also, hey, is your holidays going to get better with the knowledge that Taco Bell has nacho fries? If so, you're in fucking good luck. Like, that didn't even make sense, but you're in for good news. And you have good luck. There you go. Combine them. That's not even a word either. Take them out. Separate them back to what they're supposed to be. Taco Bell has them shits. If you want them, it's going to make your holiday better. Thank me for the knowledge if you didn't know. So now they're supposed to be 15 minutes from Frank's in-laws, Laura's family's house. And they're going to keep seeing this sign for Marcotte a few times throughout this movie. So again, I just love how disorienting this movie is, like how it feels like just a dream or just a bad dream slash nightmare that you just wish you could wake up from, and things just keep repeating and just don't make sense. It's such a good movie. I love rewatching this every few years when I get to. So we're headed for Marcotte. Oh, did I mention they almost got in an accident at the very beginning? Because that's actually crucial information. So apologies if I forgot that. But then when they're driving here and they're trying to get to Marcotte, to this town, to try to find a sheriff or something, just they ask what time it is, how long they've been driving, and Laura says it's 7:30 right now, and then Frank, Ray Wise, ends up saying that you said it was 7:30 when we picked the girl up, and so that thing broke. Asked if anyone has a watch. Their watch stopped at 7:30, so we have time stopping completely. Like a lot of cool stuff that they utilize in this movie, and just ideas to like keep it going and keep it, I don't know, just like uneasy and like really weird as the movie keeps going on. And the daughter is absolutely losing her mind. She's starting to sing Jingle Bells and like just like ready to burst into tears. Like she is in shock because her boyfriend Brad is dead and gone. So, and they have no idea what happened, and they can't seem to find any place, and they're just stuck on this one road. She is about to lose it, man. Again, the son is an asshole. Like they pull up, they stop because they see a black baby carriage in the middle of the road. So obviously linked somehow to the lady with her baby, her dead baby, and they're debating about Frank getting out of the car to check it out, and Laura doesn't want him to, and the son just hops out, runs over to the baby carriage, and like reaches in and saying like, "Hi, little guy." Then he pretends that he's getting like pulled into it and being eaten, but we hear like a monster like attacking him and stuff and making noise like it's eating him. And then it just stops after a few seconds when he says like, "Aha, I got you guys. Like you guys are stupid." I don't know what that's about, because I'm sure that has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. They just decided to throw in monster sound effects for a jump scare. That's strange. Like, but maybe it wasn't intended. Maybe it was just supposed to just be another weird thing that is supposed to make you feel like just disoriented watching this. But it was very strange hearing that and saying, like, but nothing's happening. He's just pretending. He's being a prick. Like, there's nothing attacking him, but yet we hear the sound. It's very weird. Mare is the daughter's name. Mare. That's one thing I'll say about this movie, is that there's not a lot of character development or anything. Like, you really don't get to know these characters, really. Like, the driving force is just having Ray Wise and Lin Shaye. Like, their performances, the parents. That's why I keep using their real life names, because the characters are just forgettable. Like, that's one knock I'll give this movie. But it really doesn't hurt the film for me much, like just because of the performances being so amazing, like as they always are from each of these actors. So it doesn't really take me out of it or anything, but it's something I would 100% understand if people who never saw this and then saw this and said like, I really didn't care about any of these characters. I could see that, because there's like no attempt to even like develop any of their characters or make them relatable or care for them in any sort of way, except for just knowing them as actors and caring about them and loving their performance. So I can absolutely see people not caring for that aspect of this movie, for sure. The entire scene when Frank and Laura start arguing about her family and how he can't stand her family, and especially her brother, and that her parents never thought that he was good enough for her because he was a used car salesman and now he's done much better. That whole argument scene, fucking awesome. Like, the performances between Lin Shaye and Ray Wise, every line they deliver, just all of that is so amazing to watch. Like, it like gets you like giddy almost. Like, just seeing them perform together like this and arguing, and it just keeps getting more and more intense. And then they stop the car, and then the daughter, I mean, wrong time, wrong place, like to be letting this bomb drop, ends up saying that she's pregnant, Like, after they've been stuck on this road for like mad long with no place in sight, after seeing this strange woman with a baby who disappeared and Brad's dead, she decides to drop this bomb that she's pregnant. So she's pregnant with Brad's baby apparently, and then funny is the comic relief. That's pretty much all the son is here. And Richard comes in and he's like, I smoke pot. It's like they're all admitting and getting things like off their chest. It's so funny. And then he goes off to smoke a joint, the kid, and the parents are like still trying to figure shit out. Awesome though. And that whole argument scene between Lin Shaye and Ray Wise is just brilliant. Alright, whether either that this kid has some magic joint that keeps getting bigger every time that they cut to him, or he just lit up a second one off screen and we didn't get to see it. One way, I like his style. Then we have the lady in white comes up to him and starts making out with him and just rips his lips off his face, like while she goes to kiss him. It looks good. Like it really is effective. Then she just strips down naked and she is fucking gorgeous from behind, but Richard starts freaking out from whatever's in front. So then we cut to the main road and they see the black car again and they see Richard banging for help out of the back, and then they're down to 3. Oh, we'll get him a car, a little black car, a limousine. If anyone knows what that's from, I love you. And then we just get Lin Shaye's time to shine again. Like, they're driving, trying to catch up to the black car where Richard was in, and then they just hit something. And she immediately knows that it's her son, that it's Richard. And she gets out of the car, and we don't see much, but it kind of looks like the opening scene from It Follows. Like how the girl's leg is bent backwards, like his hand is like twisted in a weird position. It's very similar, actually. So now I'm starting to think like if they got inspired by this movie at all, like when making It Follows and for that opening scene, because it is very reminiscent, like just the way that an appendage is sticking up and like unnatural looking, but just her whole performance of just hugging, saying hold me to his body and like saying like what did they do to you baby, and like she fucking kills it in this scene. Like, oh my god. Like, she does so good. I love Lin Shaye so much. I also really like the score to this movie. Like it changes throughout. Like it's not like one type of like music throughout, but like right in this scene here, after they put Lin Shaye in the car, Laura and Frank and Mare, which is short for Marion, by the way. I figured it was short for something, but said who knows? Maybe her name was just Marion. The two of them are looking at Richard's body and stuff, and we get some like nice like almost gothic sounding score, like, and that's used a few times in this, but there's other times when there's a completely different sounding score, and for some movies that's jarring, but given like what takes place in this movie, it works 100% for me. Alright, and then like, I know I'm saying a lot about their acting, but it's one of the driving forces of this movie. But man, when they get back in the car and Lin Shaye, Laura's just lost her mind completely, and she's shoveling pie in her face and down her throat, and then just starting saying, "Where's Michael?" And like, who the hell is Michael? It's like, Michael. Well, that's Richard. That's what Alan wanted to call him. And then I remember now, like, there's this whole like thing that like the son wasn't really Frank's, that she had an affair or something like that. But just her acting, just completely broken mentally beyond. She kills it. She absolutely kills it in this movie. The second act of this movie should have just been called Lin Shaye Destroys. Like, she just does such a phenomenal job playing just batshit insane. Like, and you can feel all of her emotions. You could feel that I just lost my son. Like, and what the hell just happened, and like, how are we still on this road, and like all the crazy shit that we're seeing here, you can see it on her face. You can, with every emotion that she puts on her face, with everything, like she just knocks it out of the park. Like, oh, I love Lin Shaye so much. And then Ray Wise gets this whole amazing monologue and talking about a ghost story that he heard years ago, and that there was this couple that pulled over on the side of the road, and it was nighttime, it was raining out, and they picked up this little girl that they saw on the side of the road, and then they almost got in an accident when they heard a scream from the back seat, and the girl was just gone. It was, her book was there, and then they like found her name on the book, and then they remembered like 5 years earlier that entire family, including the girl, died at the same location that they picked the girl up. And like the way he says the whole story and just tells it, like he kills it, man. Like the performances are just the best thing about this movie, like 100%. Like even if this was a bad movie, with Lin Shaye and Ray Wise having the same performances that they have, I'd still probably love it. Like unless it's like Birdemic, Troll 2, The Room, like level bad, then nothing saving that. But you know what I mean. And then back to Lin Shaye, just killing it too, man. Like, oh, I don't know why I don't watch this movie every year for the holidays. That's going to be another new one. Like when I just did Better Watch Out, I said that's going to make the list now every December. This absolutely is. Like, I don't know why I don't watch this movie more often, but she's destroying it, playing crazy. Like, pops in the front seat, like we got potato chips, and starts shoving it in her mouth and stuff. And then she pulls out a gun, a rifle that they were bringing for her brother. That's like a gun enthusiast and stuff. The one that Frank really doesn't care for. And she takes the gun and she's pointing it at the two of them. And she's just completely lost her mind. And like Marion Mayer is trying to be a shrink, like she's going to school to be a psychologist. So like Ray Wise like says to her like, "You're the shrink, like come on." And she says like, "Mom, like remember when we used to play house and stuff?" And she's like, "Oh, I remember. I don't want to play that anymore. I want to play this game." And she shoots him. And you think that she hits him like in the stomach or the chest or something, but then like the next cut like is him laying on the floor holding himself here, but he screams out like, "Ah, the bitch shot me in the leg." Oh, it's so funny. Like there's some good humor in here too. Like not the ice cream, but there's a nice amount of humor in this movie. So like you get everything with this movie. So Laura's passed out in the back seat, and it's just Marion and Frank driving, and he comes to the conclusion, the idea of maybe this is a military road. That like that's why you never see military vehicles and trucks or anything like that. It's they use roads like this, like isolated, and that's why maybe Marcotte might be a military base, and that's why it's not on the map and everything. Good idea, good guess. Like that does make sense. But it's not like the situation that they're in here. But that would be a logical explanation. Like, I'm not a military guy, so maybe if maybe this is absolutely not a thing anywhere, having a military road like this, I'm pretty sure it is. So, I mean, at least it's believable. It's something that you can grasp onto that's rational without jumping to the, like, we're in purgatory, or like the lady was a ghost, or like any of that. But it still doesn't explain, like, the two deaths that we've seen so far, one of them being their child. So it's a good guess on his part, but he's wrong. Just killing it again, man. Like Lin Shaye like comes out of the car, like because they say like, "I'm concerned about your mother." Then she just appears like behind them, and she's awake, and she's just like acting like, oh, like she's on acid, like everything's amazing, everything's beautiful, life is great, and then she's like, "And I understand about you and some girl, Sally or some shit," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Oh, I know everything about it, how you two used to meet up at Motel 6 and hump each other raw and stuff," like right in front of the daughter. Like, it is so uncomfortable. Like, imagine being, that's you, the daughter, and you're hearing your parents talk about, like, this type of shit. And then, like, that's not even, like, the worst part. And then, like, she says, like, "I know I haven't made myself, like, able to fulfill all your sexual fantasies and stuff, but, like, after we get home, honey, you could do anything to me." Like, I mean anything. Dude, I would take out a machete and hack myself in the face if I had to hear my parents talking like that, like, in front of me. Like, oh, but her acting in that scene, it's just whole movie. I mean, I should have just blanketed that from the beginning, but screw you. I'm going to keep giving them what they deserve, some praise. Now, there's a Lincoln wish list event happening for the new Lincolns for 2023, just in case you're interested in getting a new automobile for the new year. The small little detail that earlier in the movie, Frank bitches to Laura saying, "Do you have to drink your water bottle like that?" Like she's like slurping on it, and she's like, "This is how I drink." Then now Ray Wise is drinking liquor like while he's driving because he used it to like help with the gunshot wound on his leg, and then he just starts swinging it, and she just throws a line at him saying like, "Frank, would you stop sucking on that bottle like that?" I never noticed that. That's a cool little thing thrown in there, just a nice little callback to something earlier, like much earlier in the movie, to even just make you start thinking on that too, if those are connected in some way. Now, when I first saw this movie, I did not expect this. Laura's in the back seat, Frank's driving, Marion's in the passenger seat, and she's like batshit crazy, as she has been. And she's saying that she sees her friend Janine in the woods, and she's like waving and stuff. And then they're arguing, and then Frank just can't take it anymore. He's like, "She's driving me nuts." And she's like, "Can I go see Janine now?" And he's like, "No, you can't." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I can." "No, you can't." "Yeah, I can." Like, until he's just like, "Whatever." And she's like, "I'm gonna go." And she just opens the back door and just flies out of the car. It's absolutely hysterical. It's so funny, but it's so unnerving at the same time. Like, she just books it out of that car. You don't really even see her fly out. Like, you kind of do, like, real quick, but the way it's shot, it's hysterical. And then she's just like laying on the road, and then the black car drives up again, and they think that it's going to have the mom in it, and he starts shooting at the car, and then the car just backs away, and then Laura's there, and she's all scratched up and everything, and they're asking if she's okay. She's saying her head hurts a little bit, but she's fine. And then you see the back of her head, and like her part of her head's missing in the back and her brain's exposed, and she starts like scratching it, and she starts scratching it faster and faster. It's so disturbing, man. Like, it's so weird. It's like she's scratching an itch that like she can't scratch, like, and it's so disturbing. Like, it looks really good too, like effects wise, like no complaints. And then she just falls dead on the floor. And then the actress who plays the daughter, Marion, gets a little time to shine here. Like, after Ray Wise goes and grabs the gun, he's ready to blow his face off. Like, he lost his son, he lost his wife. A dick move on his part, and she does call him out on it and say that, like, I'm having a baby. Like, we need you. Like, you're just gonna check out on us? Like, I already lost my brother, my mom, and my boyfriend. Can't lose you. And just she gives a very good performance there. And Ray Wise, as always, is brilliant, like bouncing back off of her and just looking ashamed and drained mentally and emotionally. So good. And then Ray Wise's whole monologue here about explaining who Alan is, that Laura kept saying Alan and stuff relating to the son. So we knew that she had an affair, and that Richard's not really Frank's kid. But his whole monologue here of explaining to Marion what she's driving and saying that Alan was a friend of his when they lived back in Chicago, and that he came to him asking that for advice, that he loves this woman but she's married, and like, what should I do? And like him saying he remembers what he told him, that you only live once, go for it. That whole thing, that whole monologue is absolutely amazing. Like, again, like, if anyone hasn't seen this movie, for some reason is at 33 minutes into a spoiler discussion video on it, you just go see the movie at this point. Like, it's really, like, just me praising their performances, like, this whole movie. So, get out of here and go watch it. If not, you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. They just, so good. So, now they've been driving for, like, 60 miles since the last time they stopped and checked the map, and he kind of concluded the best that he could that Marcotte might be a Navy base, like on the coast, and that it's only like 40 miles to the coast. Now they're driven 60 miles. They still haven't reached the coast or Marcotte or anything like that. So he's saying, let's stop the car and let's walk through the woods. I mean, I get it. I mean, I would have been thinking that much, much longer ago in the past. Maybe like during the first hour on this road, I would have been like, yeah, this isn't right, like in any way. So let's like drive through the woods and cut through and see if we can find something. But at this point, I mean, they really don't have any other option. They've been driving for hours on this road, and every time they stop the car, it seems like somebody dies. So they're just walking through the woods now and seeing if they can get to civilization or anything that can help them this way, because they really have no other choices at this point. And while talking, proceeds to walk into barbed wire, Frank. So he just cuts his head like a little bit from barbed wire because he wasn't paying attention when he was walking. See, this is for all you Pokemon Go fans out there who won't even hear this because you're dead because you were playing the game while crossing streets without looking up and looking left and right. What the hell's wrong with you people? You deserve what happened to you. And I'm just kidding. Obviously, Pokemon is very captivating, so no one deserves that. I definitely understand being, you know, not able to look away from the screen when trying to catch a Pokemon. That's intense shit. So then they walk through the woods in one direction, away from the road, and then they just turn up right back at the car on the road again. So now they don't even know what to think. Honestly, neither do I. And man, are you ready for the holidays if you hear this. If you like pizza, Little Caesars has a special holiday deal. 3 pies for $5.99. I think toppings are extra, but not a bad deal. Like, get on that for you pizza lovers. And see, that wasn't even a real commercial. I just made that shit up. So, we were getting near the end here. I was like, it's been a while since an ad break, so I'll just throw one in. But it sounded real, right? It sounded like it could have been like an actual advertisement. So, gotta give you props. And then we get this scene where, not really even a scene, but just like this exchange of dialogue we hear in so many movies. When it's like, I'm absolutely not doing this, then cut, and they're doing it. And they find Laura's body in the back of the car, like dead. And then like her head rolls off or something. And then he's just like, I'm not getting back in that car. And she's like, neither am I. And then just smash cut. And they're both driving the car again. So funny. I mean, it's overused like hell, but depending on what film it is that it's being used in, I can laugh a lot at it, or I can just be like, oh, this again. So, but it works in this movie. Now we get a cool scene where they see that same cabin or shack, whatever it is, that they were looking for a phone in like an hour ago. And they stop, and Frank goes in there, and then we see the woman in light. Yeah, the woman in light. It's very dark in the room. I'll clarify that. But he's holding up a match, he lights a match, and then the woman in white comes, and you hear the baby crying in the background, and she blows the match out, and then Marion comes into the cabin and just sees Frank just wildly swinging around like a fucking hammer or some shit like that. Creepy. Like, it's a nice little creepy scene. Now Frank is starting to snap, just like Laura did. And he's getting pissed at Marion that she threw out his whiskey. He's like, you threw away my whiskey? My whiskey? You ungrateful brat? Like, funny shit. But then he hits his daughter, like, in the face, like, twice. Like, not so funny anymore for most people. But then he just kind of comes to his senses and is like, holy shit, what did I just do? And then he tries to, like take her out of, fuck you guys, you know what I'm... Make her not be unconscious no more. Or reconscifies her, if that works for you. Alright, we are ending the nearing stretch of this movie here, and I'm assuming, if there's anyone watching left, I'm assuming at least some people checked out when I made that whole fake commercial about Little Caesars, and then they got pissed when I said I made it up. And they checked out because they really love pizza. And they're like, damn it, man. Like, I really thought that was a good deal. But we see the woman in white walk into the forest, and Frank just up and follows her and leaves Marion sleeping in the car. And then she just kills him. We don't know how, it's off screen, but you hear him get killed. So he's gone, and it's just Marion left. And she's just woken up to a car filled with her brother and mother's bodies and nobody else on the same road. Marion gets to realize, oh shit, that's right, gasoline is a thing, and runs out of gas on this road. So she is feeling pretty fucked right now. And of all the events that we've seen taking place on this night, I'd have to assume this is not a good Christmas for them out of like past ones. So she ends up running out of gas, and she sees a body bag on the floor on the street, and she goes and opens it, and it's Leland Palmer, Ray Wise, Frank. And then the black car shows up, and she thinks it's for her, and the woman in white shows up with her baby and says, it's not for you. Like, they're not here for you. And she gets into the black car, the woman in white, and she proceeds to get driven away. Then we get a repeat of the near accident, or so we thought, at the beginning of the movie, which I so politely forgot to mention happens until like 15 minutes into this video. But so this is, we see Marion in the hospital after we see the crash again, and she doesn't understand what the hell's going on. And then I'll dive into the whole ending theories here in a second. All right, great movie. But so Marion wakes up in the hospital, or she's been in a coma for a few hours, and we find out that the family got into a car wreck with another automobile, which had the woman in white and her baby. Everyone died except for Marion. And we see Frank's car, the family's car, all smashed in and everything. So obviously this whole movie, being on this road and stuff, is like a purgatory state before being taken away by the black car and being taken to wherever they're going next. So that's pretty spelt out. Like, there's not much room for interpretation there. And then we find out the doctor's name is Dr. Marcotte, and that's where Marion must have heard the name while she was in a coma and thought all this up. So this all took place inside her head while she was in the coma, is what I'm assuming. But then we get Dr. Marcotte getting in her car, and the car's not working. And she ends up seeing the guy getting into his car, and it's the same black car that we saw during this whole movie, taking everybody off. And he says that he's a collector, and if she wants a ride, and she gets in the car with him. So you can look at that kind of like, he says he's a collector. Is he a collector of souls? Like, did some of what we saw actually happen? Or it was all just in her head, like while she was in a coma? I've never really come to a conclusion on this. So I'd love to hear other people's opinions of people who've seen this movie. But kinda, yeah, I don't know like what to think of that. Like, obviously it was some type of purgatory. That's why the time stopped. That was probably, assumably, the time of the accident, 7:30. That's why the watches, the car clock, like everything stopped at 7:30. And they saw nobody else on this road except for the woman and her baby, which were the other, victims of this car wreck. And then they just got taken one by one off to wherever afterlife they're going to. But then we see the guy in the real world, and he's driving this car and says he's a collector. So I don't know what that's supposed to imply. Like I said, he collects souls. He's like the Grim Reaper. But then how much of what we saw in the movie actually happened? Or if none of it happened, what are the chances then that we see this guy with the same exact car and just say ominously that he's a collector? So I don't know. So anyone who wants to leave their theories if they've seen this movie, which is not talked about hardly at all. Like, I never hear this movie brought up. And it's a shame, because this is a very interesting movie to watch. It's a very fun film to watch. And just the performances by Lin Shaye and Ray Wise. I know I've said that enough, but Jesus Christ, man. Like, just for their performances alone, this movie's awesome. Add in all the other great things, which is most of it. I could see people having some pacing issues with this, and I can see that, like, in the film a little bit. But I don't get bored at all watching this movie. Like, it's very eventful throughout, and it just keeps you thinking. And it traps you into, like, this dream-like, surreal feel. Like, I don't know. It's very hard to describe watching this movie. But this was fun. Definitely wanted to talk about this movie for a while. So this was a nice rewatch. So wherever you guys are from, hope you're having a good morning or a good night. I'm not sure if I'll get Wes Craven's New Nightmare out tonight. It's already, like, midnight, and I'm kind of pooped. So I don't know. Maybe, probably not. I'll just say probably not, and if it shows up, then it's like, hey, surprise. But probably not. But I'll have it up tomorrow. So everybody have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.